Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new episode of our podcast series, Product Perspective Talks, where we dive into the world of product management. I'm your host, Anu, Customer Success Manager at Amoeboids Technologies, and I'm joined by my colleague and co-host, Sujeet Pathak, Senior Product Manager at Amoeboids Technologies. And I'm so excited to welcome our special guest today, Sanket Parlikar, who is co-founder at Revyz. Sanket has more than a decade's experience into data protection domain, and Revyz is one of the leading SaaS platform into data resilience, and also Atlassian Gold partner. Welcome, Sanket. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you, Sujit.
Okay, so without any further ado, let me pose my first question. So, tell us about your journey so far and what led you into the world of product management.
So, as you mentioned, right, I've been in this space for more than a decade now. Actually, 14 years. My entire career, I've been doing data protection in different roles, I would say. Uh, I've been part of different teams. I've been playing different roles like professional services, implementations, and solutioning. And before I started Revyz, I was product manager. So having part of different teams, having been part of different teams and different roles, what always fascinated me was how you solve customer problems, right? How do you get to know what problems are there over there, discovering those problems, discovering what customers see in their day-to-day activities, right? And then doing something about it. So that was always fascinating for me. That's something I thrived on, like understanding the problems and solving those problems. So that was pretty exciting for me, and that eventually led me to probably think more about how do I become a product manager, right? How do I actually get into that role where you get to talk to customers, you get to talk to people out there, understand different scenarios, different problem statements, and then how do you define products? How do you define solutions around it, right? So that's how it started for me before Revyz, and eventually when I decided to move on and start Revyz along with Wish, uh, we always focused on like the problems that customer face in terms of data protection in SaaS world, and we focused on the solutions, let's say in the SaaS space, and that was the whole idea about starting Revyz, right? Like, hey, we need to do something about it. We need to basically come up with good solutions, good offerings in SaaS data protection space. And yeah, here we are. That's how we got started.
Wow,
Oh,
great journey.
that's quite interesting.
Yes, Sujit, continue.
Yeah, thank you. So, Sanket, you mentioned about you like understanding the customers or users' problem and building solutions. So, product management is basically, in a nutshell, is like at one side you are trying to understand user issues, user problems, problem statements, and on the other side you are building solutions to those problems. So, what part of product management excites you more, like identifying or discovering those problems or building solutions for those problems?
I would put it in a slightly different way. I would put it in a way like identifying business opportunities, right? That's where I like the product management role, and that comes after you understand what customer problems are there, right? So interacting with people, be it general networking sessions, be it some events, or be it direct customer calls, right? Discovering what they're doing today, how they do certain things, and what roadblocks they face in their day-to-day activities, right? Understanding that, discovering those things really helps me in knowing, like, hey, there are gaps out there and there are problems out there, we should be focusing on those. So ultimately, as you understand those problem statements, and ultimately as you try to find solutions for those problems, you define business opportunities, right? So in the middle, you see some business opportunities which you eventually address through your product development. So that is the way I would put it. So yeah.
Right, great. So, like you have mentioned about the opportunities, about the problem statements that you hear from different customers, and then finding a solution, or looking at that particular solution in your mind as a business opportunity. But of course, as a product manager, I'm sure you must have some vision for your product, right? And the other side, you also have customer demands. So how do you balance between these two as a product manager?
No, so when, let's say, when you start a new product line, definitely you as a product manager, you have certain experience, you have done your homework, you probably went out to a few customers and took some feedback, you validated your market, right? And then you have a gut feel. Being a product manager, typically there's always a gut feel that, hey, this is the business opportunity, this is the product we need to build, right? But after you take your product from 0 to 1, the journey kind of changes a bit, right? That's where you start seeing a lot of customer feedback, a lot of customer requests. And this becomes pretty challenging for a product manager, right? Initially, what you did in that 0 to 1 phase may not be applicable in maybe the next phase, which is 1 to 10, right? So as you take your product from 1 to 10, you have to have a different strategy. You have to have that balance in between how you're able to address your customer feedback, and at the same time, how do you bring new things, some new innovations into your product as per your market research and your gut feel, right? So that is always tricky. There's no straightforward answer to it, I would say, having talked to several industry experts. But there's always a context, right? Like, for example, if the customer feedback that you're seeing is going to impact your product in a very positive way, it's going to set some tone in the industry itself, right? Then as a product manager, you will be driven towards addressing that feedback on priority, because you see value over there. You see that it's going to help bulk of your customers, typically the 80-20 rule, right? Where you try to address bulk of the market space. But at the same time, there will be some niches, some specific use cases which may not be asked by a lot of other customers. That's where you, as a product manager, you have to maintain that balance and go with your gut feel and say, hey, you know what, probably this is something we should not be doing, but instead let's try to innovate in some different way so that we keep giving more to our customers. Yes, we are compromising on probably the 20% or smaller requests, but at the same time, let's keep innovating. Let's keep that balance of uh, churning out something new always for the customers to keep them happy. Also, what I've seen is most of the times, customers will come back with the feedback based on what they think they feel as a problem statement, right? But as PMs, it's your responsibility to discover other hidden problem statements and innovate on that, and go back and educate your customers. Like, hey, you know what? Yes, we agree. What you're saying is right, but there's a bigger fish to fry. There's a bigger problem. Let me solve that first for you, and then let me get back to what you're saying, right? So it's all about communicating. It's all about connecting with your customers, and ultimately being transparent with your customers will help you maintain that balance of innovating things as well as catering to your customer feedback.
Right. Yeah. That yeah, you really answered it very well, Sanket. Yeah, that answers my question. Over to you, Sujit.
So Sanket, just connecting question to the one that you just answered, like You mentioned about there are those 20% requests which you may not be able to fulfill because it doesn't fit the path that you have imagined for your product, or it doesn't really helps majority of your users. In that scenario, let's say there is one customer who has been long paying customer with you, and now you have to say no to that customer. How do you manage or handle that kind of communication?
It's always tricky, right? You have loyal customers, and that loyalty, that trust is built over the period of time. And saying no is always difficult, be it to your customers or even be it to your employees or internal stakeholders, right? But as a product manager, that's one of the key skill set that you have to develop, where you need to go ahead and say no to certain things, right? Not only customers, let's say for example, you have internal stakeholders. It's very important to draw a line and say no, because you can't do everything. That's the truth, right? But if you start signing up for everything, you won't be able to do uh, other things properly. It's a distraction, right? So it starts with internal stakeholders and internal culture, where as a product manager, you start prioritizing things. Yes, of course, you want to build everything, but you prioritize with the limited finite set of resources. You pick the most impactful things, and you say to internal stakeholders, hey, we are not going to do this right now, maybe in future, right? Same thing, once you define that roadmap internally, after considering all feedback, you need to go back to your loyal customers, to your trusted partners, right? And educate them. Hey, you know what? We are not going to do this because of so and so reasons. Communication is the key. Setting the expectations is the key. Most of the times, what I've seen is, unfortunately, even though there are right reasons for it, the message is not sent out to customers properly. There's most of the times misunderstanding, and customers end up thinking that, like, hey, I was not heard, and it just got shot down, right? But that's not the case always. It's just miscommunication, where, let's say, as PMs, as product owners, if we go out and start educating customers, like, this is the reason why we are not picking it right now, probably we'll pick it up in near future, but at the same time, as we compromise on this one, maybe here's the workaround for you, right? So when you don't solve the actual problem, maybe addressing that problem in some different way using some workarounds or some help will always make sure that your customers understand what you're doing, why you're doing, and they'll also appreciate the workaround or the efforts that you put in, right? And at the same time, you give them more value by providing new features. So I think there are different ways to handle this, and one of the ways is, or effective means that I believe, is communicating transparently and always going one extra step ahead of, rather than saying no, try to give them something or the other, like some workarounds. So yeah, that's the way probably I would handle.
It's very well said, Sanket. The key here is to, just to sum up this particular answer, the key here is to have the to do the clear communication, set some expectations, set clear expectations, I would say, and if not the actual solution, you can deliver some value in other way to the customer to make them feel heard. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I have another question. So as we all know, everyone is talking about AI. So what do you think, like how AI is shaping up the future of product management?
No, AI is the future, right? Definitely, it has potential. It's also demonstrating it right now in the industry, right? It's not like it's going to be next 5 years and something will happen. It's already happening. In fact, it happened yesterday, I would say, right? So AI value and its, let's say, contribution to different domains and different segments of your business, it's already seen in the industry, right? Now, especially when it comes to product management, it will definitely play a bigger role because product management is one of the most versatile role, I would say, right? If you see what a product manager is responsible for, it's like right from doing market research, right from connecting with people, gathering the feedback, processing that feedback, to converting that feedback into something measurable, something which is going to generate business opportunities and which is going to solve real world problems, and then executing that stuff as well, right? So it's a big food chain, I would say, that a product manager has to cater to. And in this entire food chain, uh, AI can help product managers streamline bits and pieces, right? So as you collect huge amount of feedback initially, what product manager did traditionally was product managers analyze that data, and it can be a huge data set, right? Making sense out of that data, why someone is saying this thing, why, what context that person has, putting all that into one perspective takes a lot of time. And that's where probably in step number one, AI tools can help you, because this is kind of a NLP dataset problem where analyzing the sentiments of customers' feedback, analyzing the content, analyzing the intent of that specific feedback can be quickly converted into a summary for a product manager, which can help product managers focus on the core aspects of that feedback, right? Because feedbacks by nature can be a lot of it can have a lot of noise, right? So as you start collecting a lot of data, it can be noisy, and AI can play that role of removing the noise and highlighting the summary, highlighting the crux of that feedback across different customers, right? So that's one area what I think maybe AI can have a very positive impact on product managers, and it becomes your teammate, right? The way Atlassian puts it, there are AI agents which can be your teammates, assisting you in every step of your process, right? And similarly, in product management, AI can play a bigger role in understanding, processing the feedback, defining your MRDs and PRDs to a greater extent, right? As you start preparing the case for certain product line, you need that market research, you need that market requirement document, right? In such cases, when you start writing down or penning down all the details why we need to build certain things, AI can again play a very important role in building that document for you, in making sure that you are creating a right use case and presenting it to your internal stakeholders, right? So that will start streamlining product managers' role at very high level, where product managers can now focus more on the crux of the problem and navigating it through internal stakeholders and getting it or maybe pushing it across the finish line at the end of the day, right? So definitely there are a lot of use cases that I see in product management where AI can definitely streamline the entire process.
So, Sanket, when we talk about AI in general, when we see the commentary around, many times many influencers just try to fear monger, like, AI is going to replace your jobs and something like that. So, being a product manager, how do I prepare myself, like, at initial stage? Like, I should not be getting replaced by AI, but in fact, I should be able to use AI to my advantage.
It's always going to be a tool which will help you do your job more effectively or more efficiently, right? It's not a, at least in my opinion, it's not a replacement tool. You'll
Mhm.
always need human intelligence everywhere, but humans can now do their job more efficiently. more effectively, right? And one such tool is AI. Now it's up to you how you implement it, how you use it, right? And as you start leveraging AI for your role, it can be product management, it can be engineering, it can be sales, marketing, multiple roles, right? But it, it's going to complement what you're doing. In my opinion, it's not going to replace you. There are certain automation related jobs which it can be controversial to get into those details, but as you get into, let's say, product management kind of roles, these tools will always help you do your job much more efficiently and speed up. Probably what took maybe 1 month, it can come down to a couple of weeks, because now this teammate is helping you uh, channelize all the information, filter out the noise, and create a executive summary or a shorter document which will give you a brief overview of what is happening and what you need to do. And AI can't do that by itself, right? A human, a product manager is always interacting with that tool, instructing it, talking to it, and asking it to do certain things. So you as a PM or you as a human, you always chat to AI bot or agent, and you just keep talking to it, right? Hey, you know what? I just need your help with these things. It's like conversing, it's like talking to a person and getting things done, right? So I don't think it's going to be a replacement, but it's just a teammate, it's just a colleague of yours. You're talking to it, you're just saying, hey, can you just process this data for me and give me so and so details? Can you format it for me, right? So it's helping you move faster. That's the way I would put it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Means instead of just uh, getting annoyed like AI is going to replace me, instead of you should be able to do a friendship with AI, make AI your
Yeah.
colleague.
In fact, another thought comes to my mind is those people might get replaced in future who are not using AI, right? So the real threat is not AI replacing you, but if you're not doing friendship with AI, then there's a risk that you might get replaced, because there are smarter people who are using AI now and doing much more than what probably you are doing, right? So that's the bigger threat, I would say. So start learning, start using AI.
Perfectly put. So, moving ahead, Sanket, I just want to ask, like, you have been into this data resilience domain. You have worked in some other organization earlier, and now you are having your own startup, Revyz, which is a Atlassian's marketplace partner. So, what is key difference between managing a product, which is a standalone SaaS product, direct to customer product, against a Atlassian add-on, which sits within the Atlassian domain, or to be specific, within Jira as an add-on?
No, absolutely. There are like a lot of positives about Atlassian marketplace itself, right? Or for that matter, any marketplace, because it sets the tone, it sets the context for customers, right? We can talk about Atlassian marketplace, we can talk about AWS marketplace or Microsoft as well, right? Or for that matter, we can talk about Androids and iOS marketplaces, right? As end users, or as an end user, what I know is, hey, I'm looking for certain thing. Let me go to that specific marketplace and let me try to find if I get some solution for my problem, right? So in that sense, typically these marketplace definitely help businesses like us a lot, right? Now, when you say you go in as a standalone vendor, of course, every company in some way or the other is always standalone, right? You do your marketing, you do your GTM separately. That's a must have in any business. But when it adds up with marketplace GTM motions or some, let's say, other channels, then
Mhm.
it adds up your GTM motion, right? It adds up to what you're doing as a individual but when you talk about marketplaces, the true power is the partner ecosystem, the discoverability of your apps, right? Now, in specifically Revyz's case, what helped us was being present in marketplace made sure that new players like us get equal visibility. So as you start going against, let's say, well-established companies which are out there, you may need all the support that you can get, right? And marketplace kind of give you a like a play field which is equal in all the sense, or all the nature is like, hey, if you search for something, all these options which you get will not like bifurcate that this is special and this is not special, right? So marketplace in that sense will help you in terms of reaching your customers effectively, and also selling your products with trust, right? Because Atlassian marketplace takes care of certain things like cloud fortified certification, will make sure that it builds trust for your product, and it will certify certain things. Like for example, what cloud fortified does is it enforces you to follow industry best practices in security space. It ensures that you go through bug bounty program. It ensures that you have certain checks and let's say balances into your infrastructure before you offer it back to your customers, right? So when you are forced to do these, and when you're certified for that, and a customer takes a look at it, customers have trust in what Atlassian is doing, in the way they have executed that program. So ultimately, they trust that product, right? So marketplace, specifically Atlassian in our case, helped us to build that trust, and also to get us that visibility that as a startup we were looking for 2 years ago. Now, yes, for the period, definitely you establish your brand, you do a lot of marketing, you build trust, and now if you are standalone, if you're doing certain activities outside, yes, those are well received. But still, if you pair it up with the marketplace itself, and what you do externally, that adds up and it helps you tremendously. So always these marketplaces are really helpful.
Correct. So that it's not just about the product, but the entire ecosystem that basically helps you to build your product.
Yes.
All right. So Sanket, over the period, like of your career, have you been through any instances where any particular product that you launched, or any particular feature, for that matter, that wasn't successful enough to your liking, and how did you handle that experience?
There are definitely certain scenarios, right? Like every product manager, I would say, will go through this process where you would want to build several impactful features based on your research, based on your gut feel. But as you take it to market, you will see different behavior, different feedback altogether, right? It's not always the way you want, things will happen that way, right? And that's why we call it as product market fit. When you build something, when you take it out to the market, market will tell you over the period of time that, hey, this thing is working, this thing is not working. And when you start seeing that things are working, you ultimately looking at certain metrics, you'll call it as product market fit. My product achieved a product market fit, right? But as an overall product, even though it may have achieved product market fit, there will always be certain features which are not being adopted, which are not being used, right? And there can be several reasons for it. So as a product manager, you should be open for that feedback. Like, hey, we invested in certain feature, we expected that to work, but probably it's not working. There's no adoption. It's okay to sunset it. It's okay to kill it, right? Because yeah, the earlier you stop or earlier you kill it, the lesser the investment or maintenance cost that you have to incur in future for that product, right? So it's okay to fail, but fail faster. That
Oh,
way you learn what is working, that way you learn what is not working, and you can stop what is not working and focus on what is working. So as a PM, yes, you will always be attached to that specific feature because you are the ones who defined it, who built it, but you have to let it go uh,
yeah.
as fast as possible so that you can focus on what is really working for you. So again, it can be a 80-20 rule where a few things will not work. Most of the things will, 20% will not work, 80% will work. Let's focus on the 80%. Let's double down on that. And let's make sure that we scale, we grow in that area, right? So that becomes very essential for product managers to understand that early on and act on it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I just wanted to quickly add up to this, like, you know, you mentioned about gut feelings, intuitions, right? So what kind of a, there are product managers I have seen where who are too much dependent on certain models while analyzing on any particular data and making those product decisions, and there are some who believe in their own intuitions and get feeling and they go ahead with those decisions, take some risk. So what type of a product manager you are, where you dive into too much into the data before making a decision, or you take decisions on your own intuitions?
No, frankly, it depends on where you are at this point in time, right? If you're in a well-established big company, uh,
Mhm.
things would be different over there, right? You have enough data to analyze, you have enough customer base, enough feedback to mine through, to define your product and define your roadmap for next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, right? But at the same time, when you look at startups and smaller setups, you may not have enough data. So you need to work with what your research says, with what feedback you have received so far, and with what your experience tells you, right? So you need to work with that, and that's where your gut feel comes into picture, which helps you to go from 0 to 1. But like I said, you can't stick to one model, one strategy always. As you enter into different phases of your business growth or company growth, you need to keep changing, adjusting your strategies and your way of working to make sure that you keep evolving and you do what is right for that specific time of your business growth, right? Now, talking about, you asked me, hey, what type of person you are, right? So that basically reminds me, one of my mentors told me that there's something called as pragmatic product marketing. So that's a north star for product managers, where there's a plotting, there's a chart. If you Google it, pragmatic product marketing, you'll see a chart which will have different plots or different things mentioned over there. So towards its left side, it's like strategic content. Toward its right side, you'll find tactical content. And every product manager, if you look at the skills on that chart, will ultimately be plotted somewhere on the right side or at the center or towards the left side, right? So everyone is a product manager in reality in a company, but playing some different specified roles, right? Even a salesperson is PM in a way, because they get certain feedback, they are trying to sell the product and they need certain features as per their specifications. They are also product managers trying to share the feedback, right? Whereas the CEOs and the CTOs and CXOs of the world, they're also product managers because they're trying to set the entire strategy of the company, right? But they will be operating at very different level without even getting into the details of a feature. They'll be defining certain things. They are defining the business strategy by saying, hey, we need to get into data resilience space or security space. That's also being a product manager, but at strategy level. Whereas there are different roles, different people who will be product managers acting as tactical PMs, right? Or maybe someone doing tactical work like defining this feature and defining this roadmap for 1 quarter, 1 year, 3 years. So everyone is a PM in a way, doing different bits and pieces of that bigger strategy. And as you shift from left to right in that pragmatic product marketing chart, your role will keep changing. Your thinking, your mindset will shift in different ways, and you'll be executing that specific role. So I would recommend taking a look at a pragmatic product marketing chart. If you Google it, you'll find good images and articles about it. So that would define or summarize what a PM is. It's not like one definition fits for one PM role. It will keep changing depending on the context.
Yeah, that's a really important advice. Like even I will look at it pragmatic product marketing chart. So that's a really interesting way to look at product management. Like end of the day, everyone is product manager in their own way. So that also answers my next question, which I was to ask. Basically, any resources, books, blogs that you would recommend budding product managers to refer to, apart from pragmatic product management chart?
Yeah. I think that would be the starting point. If you're interested in getting into product management world, definitely pragmatic product marketing would be something where you can start. Of course, there are different books, but what I believe is, again, in my case, what really worked was talking to people. As simple as that, fundamental, right? You should not be shy. You should not, let's say, skip getting into networking sessions or talking to people, right? Just go out there, connect with people, learn from them, right? As you start getting into these networking sessions, you learn how different people think about the problem statements that they see and the way they would go ahead and solve those problems. So as a PM, when you start connecting with people, when you start listening, when you start hearing all these ideas, it will really help you with shaping up your mindset, with shaping up the right, let's say, path in your mind in terms of how you should be approaching certain problems, how you should be discovering certain problem statements, how you should be interacting with your customers, and then maybe offer something, right? Typically, we tend to go ahead and try to solve the problem right away because someone told me something, let me go and solve that problem. But we misunderstanding the context, and that context can come again. Yes, you can read a lot, you can have a lot of certifications, but there's no replacement for human interaction. There's
Correct.
no replacement for like talking to people and learning things, right? So in addition to books, what I would highly recommend is please go out, connect with people, exchange ideas, ask them questions. Hey, why are certain things you do certain things the way you do it, right? How it helps you, how it benefits you. So these simple questions will help shape your mindset as a product manager.
That's interesting. Sanket, thank you so much. I think we are towards the end of this session. Anuradha, you wanted to ask something?
No, very well said. I just wanted to say that. And apart from that, yeah, that quote you just mentioned, that it's okay to fail, but you should fail faster. Yeah, that will remain in my mind. That teaches a lot.
Great. So I think we are done with this session. We had some wonderful insights, Sanket, really helpful. We touched upon, balancing your user demands versus your product innovations. We touched upon the AI, how to leverage AI into product management. And of course, we also talked about how to fail fast and, move on from your failures to uh, the next avenues. And of course, how to learn more new things in the world of product management. So Sanket, that was really helpful and really insightful. Thank you so much for such a wonderful talk. We are so glad to have you on this session. And thank you, Anuradha, for starting up this session for us today. And to our audience, Thank you so much for joining us in this session. We'll definitely meet you in another episode of this series, Product Perspective Talks. Thank you.
Thank you.